They fixed their marriage. They apologized. They healed. They chose love. Or rather, they chose the work that makes love possible. But healing has a dangerous secret. It doesn't erase the past. It doesn't delete what was done. It doesn't remove the people who shaped you into who you became before you decided to become someone different. And sometimes, the past comes back, stronger, wearing a face you recognize. For the first time since their marriage began, the house was peaceful. No shouting, no manipulation, no silent wars. Sandra would cook, and Derek would come to the kitchen and taste what was on the stove and say, "This is good." Not performing gratitude, actually meaning it. Derek would come home in the evenings and knock before using his own key. A small thing, a symbolic thing, something they had agreed on, and Sandra would hear the knock and something in her would settle. He's back, and he announced himself, and that matters. It felt strange, this normalcy, unfamiliar in the specific way that good things feel unfamiliar to people who have been doing it wrongly, like something that could break if they breathed too hard. But it didn't break. Days passed, then a week, then 2. The therapist's name was Dr. Akintola. He was a small, quiet man with a patient expression and the specific skill of asking questions that sound simple until they have already reached somewhere you didn't expect them to go. They had found him through a referral from Pastor Emmanuel. Going to therapy was not something either of them had done before. Neither of them had grown up in environments where it was normalized. The first session was 40 minutes of 2 people being very careful with their words because there was a third person in the room taking notes. The second session was better. By the 5th session, they were beginning to do the real work. Outside the sessions, they built small routines. Morning prayers together, just 2 people talking to God with the specific intimacy of people who have recently been reminded of how much they needed something outside themselves. Honest conversations that does not make the other person feel attacked while being real. Weekly check-ins about their emotions. Derek's idea, which surprised Sandra. Can we do this every Sunday evening? Just check in on each other. She had said yes. Apologizing immediately when something felt wrong. Not waiting, not storing it, not building a file. Finding the words in the moment and saying them. One evening, during a check-in, Sandra said quietly, "I'm still scared you'll go back to who you were." She said it without preamble, just the truth. Derek nodded. "I'm scared too." They sat with that. 2 people, both afraid of the same thing. 3 weeks after the vow renewal, it happened. Derek was driving the 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. shift. A female passenger entered his car at 3:15. She was loud before the door closed. "Are you the driver?" "Yes, ma." "Okay, take me to Victoria Island and don't use that route. Use the bridge." She settled into the back seat and immediately, within seconds, began a phone call that she conducted at maximum volume for the entire journey. And then, around halfway through the trip, "Driver, this AC is too cold." Derek gripped the steering wheel. Not visibly, but inside his hands. His old self woke up. The reflex was so fast and so practiced that it was already forming before he had time to notice it. The voice, the dismissal. "You people and AC." He almost said it, but then he thought of Sandra, of the hospital room, of the check-in the previous Sunday, of, "I'm still scared you'll go back to who you were." He took a breath. "Okay, ma," he said, and reached forward and adjusted the AC. The passenger said nothing. No thank you. He dropped her off at her destination. She got out without looking at him. He drove 2 streets away, parked, and sat there. He hit the steering wheel once. in the specific frustration of someone doing something hard and not being rewarded for it, and not being able to explain to anyone nearby how hard it actually was. "Why is this so hard?" he muttered to himself. Because changing is not a single decision. That same day, Sandra was at her shop in the early afternoon. A male customer had come in to pick up alterations for his sister. He was young, well-dressed. He came in saying, "Good afternoon, ma," before the door had fully closed. Polite, straightforward. Sandra's first instinct, so immediate she barely noticed it, was the assessment. Is there something behind the politeness? She watched him as he gave his name and explained the order, and reached into his wallet for the receipt she needed to match to the items. He was just a customer. He wanted his sister's clothes. That was all. She collected the receipt, found the items, wrapped them carefully. He paid. He said, "Thank you, ma. You are very good at this. My sister will be happy." Simple. Normal. No hidden weight to it. He left, and Sandra stood behind her counter and felt something she hadn't expected. Confusion. The specific confusion of someone who has been operating on a set of beliefs that a single interaction has just slightly destabilized. Maybe not all men. She caught the thought, stopped it. "No, don't be stupid," she whispered to herself. That night, Derek came home at 7:30. He was tired in the specific way of someone who has spent an afternoon making himself be different and not gotten a single acknowledgement for it. He sat down. Sandra brought him water. He said thank you. They talked about her day for a while. He looked at his phone. He saw the message. He had not looked at his phone properly since midday. The message had been sitting there for 6 hours. A name he had not seen in years. Vanessa. His ex. Not Precious, not the one who left him for his friend. The one after Precious. The one who had been, in some ways, worse, because Precious had broken him by leaving. Vanessa had broken him by staying. For 2 years she had stayed, and in those 2 years she had taught him through a specific and systematic pattern of behavior that love was a competition, and that the person who cared less always won. She had made him into the man he had become. Not alone. Precious had started it. Vanessa had finished it. The message was 3 sentences. "Hey, I'm back in Lagos. Can we talk?" Derek's chest tightened. His hands went slightly cold. Sandra walked back into the room. "Who's that?" Not suspiciously, conversationally. She was asking because he had gone still in the way people go still when something unexpected has arrived. Derek locked his phone immediately. The action was reflexive. "No one." He said it calmly, and Sandra heard it. Not the words, the thing that had been absent from his voice for 3 weeks. And just like that, the past entered their home. It did not knock, it did not announce itself, it simply arrived, in 3 sentences, and in the specific way a man locks his phone when someone he loves asks who that is. Sandra noticed. She had always been very good at noticing things. It was a skill and a wand, the result of years of learning to read rooms and people and small signals, because the alternative was being caught off guard. "You're hiding something," she said it later, when they were preparing for bed. Not accusatory yet, just stating what she had observed. "I'm not. Derek. I said I'm not." "Okay." She let it go. But she did not forget it. And Derek noticed that she let it go, which should have reassured him, but instead it made him more anxious, because the Sandra he knew, the old Sandra, would have pressed harder. The Sandra who let things go was the Sandra who was storing it, and he had learned over months of marriage that Sandra's storage was eventually going to produce a withdrawal. He lay awake that night. The message had come from a number he no longer had saved. She must have gotten a new one, or he had deleted her. He couldn't remember which. He should tell Sandra. He knew this. The rules they had made were clear. No secrets, ever. Even when the secret feels like it will protect the other person, it never does. But telling Sandra meant explaining Vanessa. It meant explaining a chapter of himself that he was not proud of. Not what Vanessa had done to him, what he had done during and after Vanessa. The man he had become, the way he had treated the women who came after her. He already knew Sandra knew the broad version of it, but the specific version, the real texture of it, he had not shared. And he was afraid that sharing it now, attached to a reappearance of the person who had shaped it, would undo everything they had built. So he said nothing. And that decision was the crack through which everything began to seep back in. Derek started acting differently, less talkative. The morning check-ins grew shorter. Where he used to sit across from her and actually look at her while they talked, he started looking at the table. Easily irritated. Small things that had stopped being triggers, the way she organized the kitchen, the time she spent on the phone with her friends, started bothering him again. Not explosively, in the old quiet way. Always on his phone. He had started texting someone, not Vanessa, a friend. He was asking this friend what to do, how to handle it, whether to tell Sandra. The friend, who was not Emeka would have told him immediately to come clean, gave him the kind of advice people give when they do not want to get involved. Guy, just manage it. Don't create wahala from nothing. Derek was managing it. Sandra felt it. She said nothing for 4 days. Then one night, she snapped. Is it another woman? The question came out louder than she meant it. Derek exploded. Why do you always think like that? The old voices, the old volumes. Sandra laughed. The specific, bitter laugh of someone who has been proven right in the worst possible way. Because men are predictable. There it was, back. The old war, the old positions. As if 3 weeks of work could be undone in 4 days of silence. Derek met Vanessa. He told himself all the things people tell themselves when they are about to do something they know is complicated. Just for closure. Just to hear what she wants. Just to see what she has to say and then close that chapter properly. He went to a restaurant in Ikeja. He arrived early, ordered water, waited. When Vanessa walked in, he understood immediately that the years had changed her appearance, but not the specific way she moved through a room, with the confidence of someone who has never doubted that she was worth looking at. He stood. She smiled. You look good, she said. You too, he said. They sat down. And everything came rushing back. Not love. The memories of what it had cost to love her. The specific emotional landscape of that relationship. The highs that had been designed to make the lows easier to explain away. The months when he had felt chosen and special. And the months afterward when he understood that being chosen by Vanessa was not a gift, but a strategy. She talked about why she was back in Lagos, work, a new position, a company she was joining. She talked about what had happened after she left, the relationship she had gone into, how that had ended. She cried. Precise, controlled tears. Derek watched them and felt something he had not expected. Not sympathy, distance. He looked at her crying and he thought of Sandra in a hospital bed. And he thought, this is a performance. Not because Vanessa was a bad person, but because he knew her. He had known her very well for 2 years, and the tears were real, but they were also timed and shaped, and he had seen this before. Part of him wanted to say, I see what you are doing. Part of him wanted peace, just to be done, just to sit here and listen and then go home. I'm sorry for everything I did, she said. Derek looked at her. Okay, he said. I heard you. He left the restaurant 40 minutes after he arrived. He got in his car. He sat for a moment, then drove home. He did not feel like he had done something wrong, but he had not told Sandra, and that, not the meeting, was the problem. 3 days later, Sandra was looking for his song on Derek's phone. He had fallen asleep. His phone was on the table. She picked it up to use it. They had done this before. It was not unusual. And the screen came on. The message thread was visible. She saw the name, Vanessa. She did not know who Vanessa was yet, but she saw the conversation. The initial message, Derek's reply, a time and a place, the confirmation. The after, I'm on my way home. A reply from Vanessa, It was good seeing you. We should talk more. Sandra set the phone down. Her world froze. Of course, she whispered. She went to the bedroom. She sat on the edge of the bed. She did not wake Derek. She just sat. And the architecture of what they had built, all those weeks of work, the therapy sessions, the check-ins, the Sunday morning prayers, the apology for the tracker, it did not collapse entirely, but something had come loose in it, something foundational, and she could feel it. That night, Sandra did not cry. She did not shout. She went through the evening with a specific kind of composure that Derek, when he woke, noticed immediately. "You okay?" "Fine," she said. And she was, in the way that things are fine when something has been decided internally and the decision has not yet been announced. She moved through the next 2 days in that composure, quietly, carefully. The old her, whispering things in the part of her mind that had always known how to protect itself by going first. If he can go behind your back, you know what to do. She didn't do it, but she heard it. The next few days, they stopped talking properly, again. The same house, the same furniture, but the air in the apartment had changed. The check-in stopped, not by decision, just Sunday came and passed and neither of them initiated it. Derek sensed something was wrong. He was not stupid. He had spent months learning to read Sandra more carefully. He knew the composure. He knew what it meant, but he did not know what she knew. He was trying to calculate whether she could possibly have found out, and the calculation was keeping him silent, which was making her more certain. They were building separate walls in the same house. Derek justified himself. "I didn't cheat. I went to have a conversation. I closed a door. I did nothing wrong." Sandra justified herself. He lied. He hid it. He had agreed to no secret and he had a secret. Both were right. Both were wrong. 5 days after Sandra found the messages, she confronted him. In the kitchen. In the morning. Before coffee had been made. "You went to see her." Derek went still. "You checked my phone. Answer me." "Sandra, Derek, answer me." "Yes," he said. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was level. She turned. She went to the bedroom. Derek stood in the kitchen. He heard the sound of the wardrobe. He heard the sound of bags. He walked to the bedroom doorway. She was packing. "Where are you going?" She didn't look up. "Somewhere I can think." "Sandra," she continued folding. "You agreed, no secrets." "I know." "You agreed." "I know, Sandra, I know." She stopped, looked at him. Her eyes were full. "I cannot heal," she said. Her voice was quiet. "In the same place that keeps reopening my wounds." That line. The words landed in Derek with a precision that none of the arguments, old fights and combat had ever managed. Because they were true. And because she was not saying them to hurt him. She was just saying them. She picked up her bag. She left. He stood in the bedroom, in the specific silence of a man who has made an error he cannot immediately correct. Derek sat alone that night. He sat at the kitchen table where they had started doing their morning prayers, and he thought. Not the quick sinking of justification, the slow, honest kind, the kind he had been learning to do. He thought about what he had done. He had confirmed her deepest fear. Healing, he understood now, is not just about changing behavior. It's about protecting the person you love from your past. He made the wrong choice. Not out of cruelty, out of fear. And fear, he was learning, is responsible for almost every cowardly thing people do to the people they love. He sat at the kitchen table until midnight. Then he got up. Derek called Sandra. She did not pick up. He called again, voicemail. He texted, I know you're angry. I know I broke the rules. I'm not calling to defend myself. I need to say something, please. No reply. He texted the one friend of hers whose number he had. Is she safe? Just tell me that. The friend took 40 minutes to reply. She's safe. She doesn't want to talk to you right now. He drove. He drove to 3 places he thought she might be. Her friend Cynthia's, her sister's, the shop. Not there. On instinct or something he had learned about her, he drove to a small hotel on a street she had mentioned once, a place she had stayed once when she was between apartments. He parked outside. He went in. He asked for her. She had not used her own name. He described her. The woman at the front desk looked at him for a long moment. I can't confirm our guests. I know, can you tell me if she's safe? You don't have to tell me anything else. Something in the way he asked it, or the hour, or the expression on his face, made the woman pick up the phone and call a room. A few minutes later, she looked at him. Room 14, she says she'll see you. He knocked. She didn't open immediately. He stood outside for 2 full minutes. I know you are inside, he said. Silence. I'm not here to defend myself. A pause. I'm here to tell you the truth. All of it. Whatever it takes. The door opened. She stood back to let him in. He sat down. She did not. She stood near the window with her arms crossed. He told her everything. Who Vanessa was, what had happened between them, not the short version, the real one. The way that Vanessa had made him feel chosen at first, and then had taught him to compete. The way that relationship had finished what Precious had started. He told her about the message arriving, about the panic, about the decision not to tell her, not to deceive her, but because he was afraid. Afraid of what? Sandra asked. Her voice was quiet, not forgiving yet, but listening. Afraid of you knowing the full version of who I was. Afraid that if you knew it attached to her name coming back, you will think it was unfinished. When it isn't, it hasn't been for a long time. She looked at him. You were afraid of me. I was afraid of losing us. So you hid from me? Yes. And with the truth, for the first time since Sandra had found the messages, the air in the room changed slightly. Hiding from me, Sandra said slowly, almost lost us faster than anything else you could have done. I know, he said. You know now. Yes. His leaving 40 minutes later, the drive home, his feeling of having done nothing wrong while knowing the hiding was a problem. They went back to Dr. Akin. They told him what had happened. He did not express surprise. He did not tell them what to feel. He asked questions. Derek, what do you think Sandra needed from you when Vanessa's message arrived? To be told. Immediately? As soon as possible. What stopped you? A long pause. I was protecting myself. By hiding from the person you promised transparency to? A longer pause. Yes. He asked Sandra, what did Derek's hiding tell you about your safety in this relationship? Sandra was quiet for a moment. It told me I was right to be careful. Was that the lesson you wanted to learn? She looked at him. No, she said. What lesson did you want to learn? Sandra looked across at Derek. That not everything I'm afraid of is going to happen. And that was the work. Not the big dramatic moments. Those too, of course. But also, and more importantly, the daily practice of choosing the harder thing. For Derek, transparency even when it cost him comfort. For Sandra, staying open even when closing felt safer. They made new rules, not many. The therapy had taught them that rules are only as good as the intention behind them. But they made 4. No secrets ever. Face the past together. When it comes, and it will come, bring it to the table instead of carrying it alone. Speak before it becomes silence. When something is building, say it small. Do not wait until it is large and loud and has already done damage. They did not have another ceremony. There was no need. The real commitment was not the vow renewal with tears in a church. The real commitment was Derek calling Sandra from a restaurant parking lot before driving home. I need to tell you something. I got a message from someone from my past. I handled it, but I should have told you first. Can I tell you now? That phone call, the one that didn't happen in time, that he was still learning to make, was the real vow. And the real commitment was Sandra hearing that call, choosing to listen instead of closing. Months later. They weren't perfect. That was the thing about real healing. It does not produce perfect people. It produces people who know their wounds well enough to work around them. People who have practiced catching themselves before the reflex fires. Not always successfully, but more often than before. Derek. Yeah? Who was that? Emeka? He needs help with something. I'll tell you about it. Okay. Just that. The ask and the answer. Both of them had learned that the ask was not accusation and the answer was not report. It was just two people being present to each other's lives. They didn't just love each other, they understood each other. Love doesn't heal you. That is the thing people say when they are hoping to be saved by another person. Healing makes you capable of love because love requires openness. And openness requires some confidence that the person you are open to is not going to use your openness against you. And that confidence comes from doing the work, from learning the difference between someone who is still dangerous to you and someone who is trying, from having the patience to stay long enough to see which one the person beside you is. And sometimes, the real test of love is not how you start. It is how you survive when your past tries to destroy your future. Not whether you survive perfectly, whether you survive together. Because here's the truth. Not every couple survives what Derek and Sandra went through. Some leave, some stay and keep fighting. Some stay and find their way through. The difference is almost never about how much love there was at the beginning. The difference is almost always about what two people were willing to do when the love was not enough on its own. Would you have stayed or walked away?